The shocking truth Bruce Glover revealed about Hollywood's dark side. Bruce Herbert Glover was born on May 2, 1932, in Chicago, Illinois. He grew up during one of the toughest periods in American history, the aftermath of the Great Depression. His family didn't have much money, but what they lacked in wealth, they made up for in resilience. From a young age, Bruce was curious about people. He loved to observe how they talked, moved, and reacted. While most kids played games, Bruce watched the world, quietly studying it. He wasn't interested in being popular or rich. He wanted to understand why people did what they did. That curiosity would one day make him a powerful actor, but at the time, it just made him different. His childhood shaped his honesty and independence to traits that would later clash with Hollywood's false smiles and empty promises. After school, Bruce joined the U.S. Army. Military life was strict and disciplined, but it gave him strength and patience. He learned to survive, to endure hardship, and to depend on no one but himself. The Army showed him both the beauty and the brutality of real-life lessons that would help him portray truth in his characters later on. When he returned home, Bruce realized he didn't want an ordinary life. He wanted to express what he'd seen and felt, the good, the bad, and the confusing parts of being human. Acting became his way to do that. He once said that acting wasn't about pretending to be someone else, it was about discovering parts of yourself you didn't even know existed. By the mid-1950s, Bruce packed his bags and moved to New York City. He had no big contacts, no famous family name, just pure determination. He took acting classes, joined workshops, and performed in small theater groups. New York wasn't easy. Rent was high, food was expensive, and auditions were brutal. But Bruce didn't quit. He spent long nights rehearsing lines, studying characters, and practicing how to connect emotion to truth. The city's underground acting scene was full of hungry artists. There, Bruce found a new kind of family, people who believed that art could change the world. He started to shape his philosophy: acting should be real, not fake. That idea would later define his center career. Bruce's early acting journey was not glamorous. Casting directors often told him, "You're too intense," or "You don't look like a movie star," but that didn't bother him. He wasn't chasing fame, he was chasing truth. He began working in small theater productions, where every role mattered, no matter how small. He took every opportunity to learn something new about himself. He didn't see acting as a way to escape reality, but as a tool to reveal it. Bruce believed that even villains had humanity, and heroes had flaws, something that Hollywood didn't like to show. In the late 1950s, he began getting television work. You could spot him in shows like Perry Mason, The Untouchables, and Gunsmoke. They weren't big roles, but they were important stepping stones. With every performance, Bruce brought something raw, something that made audiences remember him even in short scenes. Still, the road was hard. He often had to take side jobs to pay rent. He lived in small apartments and walked miles to auditions. Many of his friends gave up, but Bruce refused to surrender. He believed that real artists don't chase comfort, they chase meaning. As he spent more time around the entertainment world, Bruce began to notice a darker side. Behind the flashing lights and applause, he saw people losing themselves. Actors who once wanted to tell truth now cared only about fame. Producers who preached art were more interested in power. He once described Hollywood as a place where people smile with their mouths but not their hearts. Despite that, Bruce kept working. He never let the system change who he was. Then, in 1971, his persistence finally paid off. He was cast as Mr. Wint, one of the assassins in the James Bond film Diamonds Are Forever. The role made him instantly recognizable, but it also opened his eyes to how Hollywood really worked. For the first time, Bruce was part of a major studio film, surrounded by wealth, fame, and politics. He saw how everything was carefully staged, not just on camera, but off camera too. The smiles, the compliments, the friendships, many of them were part of the performance. Bruce later said that fame was like a magic trick. People think it gives you freedom, but it often traps you inside someone else's illusion. When Diamonds Are Forever released in 1971, Bruce Glover's performance as Mr. Wint made a huge impact. He and his on-screen partner, played by Putter Smith, were unlike any Bond villains audiences had seen before: strange, stylish, and quietly terrifying. Bruce's cold charm and eerie calm made him unforgettable. For the first time, his name was recognized worldwide. The man who once struggled to get 5 minutes of screen time was now being talked about in major magazines and film circles. It should have been the happiest time of his life, but for Bruce, fame brought questions instead of comfort. Hollywood welcomed him, but he quickly realized it wasn't what he imagined. Behind the smiles at red carpet events and glamorous parties, he could see people wearing masks. Everyone acted friendly, but few were genuine. Fame, he discovered, didn't just change how others treated him, it tried to change who he was. Bruce was often told to act a certain way, dress a certain way, and accept whatever the studios wanted. Play the game, they said. But Bruce never liked games. He wanted honesty, and Hollywood didn't reward honesty. He once mentioned that in that period, he saw many actors lose their true selves. Some were pressured into silence, others into unhealthy habits, and many into becoming something they weren't just to stay relevant. He called Hollywood a beautiful illusion built on invisible contracts. Bruce stayed polite but distant. He didn't chase parties or fake friendships. He focused on the work, the art. After Diamonds Are Forever, he continued to appear in films and TV shows throughout the 1970s and 1980 Seconds, including Chinatown, Walking Tall, and Ghost of a Chance. But unlike many who were desperate to stay in the spotlight, Bruce never sold his integrity. He turned down roles that didn't feel right. He refused to play characters that glorified what he considered false or destructive. He believed an actor's job wasn't to lie for money but to show truth, even if it made people uncomfortable. In interviews, he started speaking more openly about what he had seen in Hollywood. He talked about how the system often favors those who conform, not those who create, how talent is overlooked if it can't be controlled, and how real art is often buried under marketing and manipulation. He described Hollywood as a place where dreams are manufactured, not born. They want you to think it's about creativity, he said once, but really, it's about control, who has it and who doesn't. His honesty didn't make him popular among studio executives. Some began to avoid hiring him, calling him difficult or too outspoken, but Bruce didn't mind. He had seen too much to care about being liked. For him, truth mattered more than comfort, and even though the offers slowed down, he found freedom in that. He could finally choose what kind of actor he wanted to be and, more importantly, what kind of man. By the late 1980s, Bruce Glover had already spent more than 3 decades in the film industry. He had seen the glamorous premieres, the red carpets, and the million-dollar smiles, but also the heartbreak, the manipulation, and the quiet destruction of real talent. And when he finally began to talk about it, people listened. Bruce never used the word evil lightly, but he often described Hollywood as a machine that eats people alive and then sells their stories. In one interview, he said, "Hollywood isn't a dream factory. It's a soul factory. It takes your soul, polishes it, sells it to the world, and then leaves you empty." He wasn't just being poetic. He had seen young actors come into the industry full of hope and leave it broken, addicted, forgotten, or mentally destroyed. The charm of fame, he said, was a trap. It promised immortality but demanded obedience. Once they know you'll do anything for fame, they own you, he explained. Bruce also talked about how studios controlled more than just contracts. They shaped personalities. They taught people how to act off camera, what to say, who to date, and even what opinions to have. "It's like being part of a very expensive cult," he said. "They want your face, your name, and your loyalty forever." He saw powerful producers cover up scandals to protect their stars, and in some cases, destroy actors who spoke up. Those who refused to play by the rules were labeled difficult. Bruce knew that label well. He wore it like a badge of honor. He didn't flatter executives, didn't network with those who demanded silence, and never accepted fake friendships. Instead, he focused on what he loved most, teaching. He started mentoring young actors, teaching them how to survive Hollywood without losing themselves. His classes weren't just about acting, they were about truth. He'd tell his students, "If you can't look in the mirror after a role, you've played the wrong one." Around this time, his son Crispin Glover started following in his footsteps. Crispin quickly became known for his strange, unpredictable roles in films like Back to the Future and River's Edge, but behind that, Bruce had prepared him. He warned Crispin early about how fame changes people, how the system rewards obedience, not creativity. Crispin later said in interviews that his father taught him to stay weird because truth lives in the weird. Bruce took pride in that. While many Hollywood fathers pushed their kids into the same toxic system, he tried to protect his. He told Crispin, "Never let them buy you. Once they do, you're no longer an artist, you're a product." And when Crispin started clashing with studios for refusing to conform, Bruce didn't stop him. He supported him completely. In his eyes, his son was doing exactly what a real artist should, fighting for integrity. Bruce often compared Hollywood to a shimmering desert mirage from far away. It looks magical, but when you get close, you realize it's just heat and dust. Actors come here chasing water, he said, but most of them never find any. He didn't mean to sound bitter. In fact, Bruce loved the craft of acting more than anything. What disappointed him was how the business side of Hollywood crushed the art inside it. He believed acting was supposed to be about truth, real emotion, real connection. But too often, it became about image, ego, and money. By the 1990s, Bruce was no longer afraid of what anyone thought. He spoke openly about the illusion of kindness in Hollywood, how powerful people pretended to care about creativity while secretly running everything through money and manipulation. He once said, "They don't care who you are, only how much they can use you. Once you're no longer useful, you disappear, and no one asks where you went." When Bruce Glover started speaking out about the dark side of Hollywood, the reaction was fast and cold. The calls slowed down. Big studios stopped offering him roles. He wasn't officially blacklisted, but everyone knew what was happening. In Hollywood, silence is loyalty, and Bruce had broken that rule. He didn't regret it, though. He once said, "I'd rather lose work than lose myself," instead of chasing fame. He began focusing on small independent films and teaching young actors. He found peace in helping others discover their own voices, the kind of freedom he had always wanted. His acting school became known for honesty, not glamour. Students said Bruce was tough but real, a man who spoke from experience, not ego. He also kept a close bond with his son, Crispin. They talked often about the strange world they both worked in. Bruce was proud that Crispin chose to be different, to make art that meant something. He believed his son was proof that truth still had a place in the business, even if it came with a price. By the 2000s, Bruce had accepted his role as an outsider. He didn't chase the spotlight anymore. He preferred small projects, real conversations, and teaching others how to survive Hollywood without losing their soul. In his final years, Bruce Glover lived quietly, far from the noise of Hollywood. He spent most of his time teaching, mentoring young actors, and reflecting on the long, strange journey that had defined his life. He didn't chase fame anymore. He had already learned that truth mattered more than trophies. When people asked what he thought about Hollywood in his later years, he said, "It's still the same circus, but at least now, I'm just watching from outside the tent." Even into his 90s, Bruce stayed sharp, wise, and brutally honest. He never stopped speaking his truth, no matter who liked it or not. To his students, he wasn't just an actor, he was a survivor of an industry that breaks most people. He taught them how to stay human in a world built on pretending. But in early 2025, the news quietly broke that Bruce Glover had passed away at the age of 93.